that talks about this. It would have major ramifications for us in this country. And while most people at the big firms say, I don't think it's likely to happen tomorrow, it would take one more Enron crisis for some legislator to look around the globe and say, this is what our next solution is. So you have to be cognizant of how difficult the world is in the world of audit in a global economy. Yet, in a global world that we live in, Chicago continues to be a very major hub for the CPA profession nationally. Sorry, I have a cold. When you talk to our CPA firms, it's very easy to see that merger mania has hit the Chicago market. It has for a few years, and it continues to be a very big trend as you talk to CPAs around the community. Whether it's Blackman Callick and Plant Moran, or some of the other firms, the Resnick Group moving its Midwest offices from the suburbs to Chicago, McGladrey moving its headquarters from Minneapolis to Chicago, our city and the world of CPAs here continues to be a very important and desirable market for the CPA profession in which to expand their markets and their services. And most of the CPAs I talk to throughout the suburbs in Chicago think this merger mania, on balance, is good for the CPA profession. The small firm practitioners are fine with it. They tell me that it gives them opportunities to gain clients and small businesses that will no longer be as appealing to the super regional firms and whose services and issues will be different, and they see it as an opportunity. The big firms feel that this isn't a competition that is going to hurt them, and the mid-manager, mid-firm market who are part of this merger activity are very excited about it. They feel it's going to allow them to expand the consulting services, the niche services that they could not previously offer clients who were walking out the door to get them elsewhere, and they feel it's going to bolster their ability to better serve a changing client base in a very competitive landscape. Outside of merger, what are some of the other trends we're seeing? We're seeing that revenues seem to be increasing among most firms this year, small but flat. It was last year, and small increases is what I'm hearing. Turnover, a little less of a problem, although business and industry says it's still a very challenging opportunity for them to get people to leave the firms and come with 7, 8 years of experience. Most of our business and industry members say the economy continues to be weak, but their businesses are doing a little better. The pipeline into our profession remains very strong. We have kids piling into programs to get accounting majors. It continues to be a top choice of college major. There are job opportunities. If your kid has actually got an accounting degree, there is a job in a bad job market. There are jobs in accounting. They are good starting salaries. The average is $50,000 starting salaries. And most people who trend market growth in different segments of different professions say the accounting profession is one of the ones most likely to grow significantly over the next 10 years. We have people passing the CPA exam in great numbers. In 2011, 2,160 passed the CPA exam in Illinois, which is right where it was before we ever went to a computerized exam. One of the ones who just passed last week is our chair, Jim Jones's son. Just passed, got the news last week. I thought that was nice for the speech to get it done right before, so I want to thank you for that. Again, if the two trends that my talks with everybody confirms for me in the Chicago market, two things are going to continue to be major trends. One, merger mania is going to continue, and two, baby boomers retiring. We are finally getting to that point where we are retiring in significant numbers, and it is critical that you focus on succession planning so that there is the next generation in place to take over. Because whether you like the way they tweet and Facebook and LinkedIn or not, they're the ones who are going to be there when you close that door. So I would encourage everyone to think seriously about what you need to be doing now for succession planning. When you ask our colleagues in the profession, do we have any weaknesses as a profession, two things jump out. We still lack the right amount of diversity in our workplaces that reflect the diversity in the world we live in. We are aggressively working on that, but it's a huge challenge. And the other thing my practitioners tell me is that we still need to get kind of more advanced than we are in understanding what a flexible workplace in this day and age means. We have to be more willing to embrace telecommuting, the use of Facebook in the office, video conferencing, and casual days. I can tell you that casual days are more important to people than some of the financial benefits you might have once offered them. When you look at the tech startup companies and what they're offering people today, the days of the free t-shirt and stock options are long gone. People want casual days. They want free snacks. They want free coffee. One tech startup is even offering free beer on tap. I found that disturbing. I can't think of anything scarier than a young CPA belting down a few beers and then, hitting the audit trail. But again, the point here is that we need to be more flexible in what we are doing to attract and retain top talent. That issue, the retention of top talent, continues to be a big concern for our practitioners in the community. I want to morph at this moment into what are some of the key issues that are going on in our profession. And I'm only going to highlight these because we have a program that addresses every single one of them somewhere in the next 2 days. But I like to flag for you what I am hearing as I talk to people. On a global level, IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standards, are still out there. The once aggressive time zone that we thought was the time process that we thought was going to happen has been slowed down significantly. The SEC recently came out with a delayed decision on when we would translate into global accounting standards, but the march is already on and going, and I encourage you to stay tuned. It's on the exam. It will happen. It's just going to be a longer period of time. On the national level, the implementation of the landmark legislation, the Dodd-Frank financial reform, 2-year anniversary, it's only 1/3 implemented. It continues to be stalled in the regulatory rulemaking procedures, but it's got impact on everybody in this room, and we're continuing to monitor closely what's happening there on the national level. The big issue, again, for most practitioners in this room is tax planning for 2013. Again, with all of the uncertainty, it's an unprecedented year for you to spend time now in 2012 to show your value to your clients. With the Bush-era tax cuts set to expire, the estate and gift tax exemptions shrinking, a current proposal that could diminish the planning advantages of the grantor and dynasty trusts, it's a very critical time to help your clients through. The other issue I would encourage you to stay in touch with that probably impacts a lot of you here is what's happening with the private company reporting standards. As you may recall, last year the AICPA aggressively worked to try to get independent standard setting, independent standards for private companies. Wasn't successful in that, and last May, Financial Accounting Foundation, FAF, formed a new body called the Private Company Council, PCC, because we felt there were not yet enough acronyms in our profession. The PCC is built to recommend modifications to accounting rules to FASB, but it serves as an advisory group to FASB. It has no independent authority to set accounting standards for private companies. The CPA Society and the AICPA were disappointed in this result, but that's where it came out. On the same day that the PCC was formally announced, the AICPA said it was going to develop a framework for financial reporting for smaller companies that do not need to produce GAAP financial statements. Both of these initiatives are chugging along. FASB is now seeking comments on its recommendations of criteria to determine whether and in what circumstances it's appropriate to adjust financial reporting requirements for private companies that follow U.S. GAAP. I think this comment period goes until October. And the AICPA is seeking comments on its financial reporting framework for small, medium-sized companies that do not need to follow U.S. GAAP. I would urge you to go to our website for more information, but you do need to at least stay on top of these two trends. Other things that are going on in the field of tax is pending legislation on tax return due date simplification. There's been a lot of discussion on moving the due dates so that the requirements for partnerships and S-Corp, the K-1s, don't collide with the 1040s. This has been an issue that's been discussed for a long time, but we actually have legislation in Congress, a bunch of co-sponsors, and a chance that it will happen. So I urge all of you to go to our website or to go to a class to make sure that you understand the changing of possible date and deadlines and its impact on U.S. tax practitioners. Again, from a practitioner standpoint, a key issue for you to track is Tax-Mageddon. The current tax rate set to expire on January 1. Payroll taxes set to increase. Over 70 temporary tax breaks and provisions have to be renewed. I mentioned it at the beginning as an impact on our economy, but from an issue standpoint as a CPA, you have to keep track of it on behalf of your clients. Illinois has passed the Independent Tax Tribunal Act of 2012. This creates an independent tax tribunal that as of July 2013 will have original jurisdiction over the hearing and determination of questions of law arising from certain decisions of the Department of Revenue. For greater details on that, I would direct you to our website and some of our government affairs publication. And then again, I want to emphasize that in addition to all these substantive issues, the number one thing I hear about from people as I go around in our profession is the daunting task of staying on top of all that technology has going on, which of course is partly why you're here at this trade show. We have greatly benefited from technology, both in how we serve our clients and how we run our businesses. But the challenges that go with this new era that has so rapidly hit us are daunting. The AICPA survey usually tracks the top 10 priorities for technology and concerns. The top 4 this year: number 1, securing an IT environment; number 2, managing and retaining data; 3, managing risk and compliance; and 4, ensuring privacy. And while most people feel they have a pretty good take now on the IT security issues for their offices, they are concerned that the development of mobile apps or the risk of a cyber attack is the next layer that we have to be focused on. And then, of course, the other trend that I'm not going to go into because everywhere you go you'll hear about it is the cloud. We seem to be migrating up into the cloud. As I talk to firms around the city and suburbs, I would say 50% are there, 50% have yet to embrace this. In my research, I had a laugh. There was a survey I ran into that said 96% of CFOs said the cloud is the greatest thing that's ever happened and it's the future. I then noticed that the survey was done by Google, one of the great service providers of the cloud. So, you got to be careful on your sources. But I would encourage you to become familiar, if you're not, with what's going on in that arena while you're here in the next few days. And in Illinois, we are now an officially one-tiered licensed state. As of July 1st, registered CPAs is not a category open to future folks. Anybody entering our profession, Jim, your son, will need to be a licensed CPA. And as part of that, so many more people will now need the requirements to stay licensed of CPE. We are working successfully with the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation to expand what counts as CPE in Illinois. We are working to make a broader array of classes count toward the CPE hours you need to take so that our business and industry members can get more non-traditional courses to count towards that. We are allowing work on certain technical committees of the AICPA or our CPA Society to count towards 120 hours. And we're going to work with the department to have a limited number of those hours be able to be gained through independent reading of important published materials that are new and different for you in the profession. We're trying to stay on top of things and make it more relevant for you to be a licensed CPA, and I think that this will kick in for the next license renewal period in 2015. Those are some of the issues we're tackling in the profession. Again, when you come to our town halls in fall and winter, we go into a lot more detail. At this point, it would be my great privilege to introduce the chair of our CPA Society, Jim Jones. A moment. It's not that I don't know Jim, but I want to get this right. Jim is the COO, CFO of Edward Don & Company, the world's leading distributor of food service equipment and supplies. Prior to joining Edward Don in 1996, Jim served as Executive Vice President and CFO of the Reliable Corporation, a national direct mail distributor of office supplies, before leading the sales of that company to Boise Cascade. He's had a series of very important leadership roles within the CPA Society. I am particularly impressed that not only is he well respected in the world of business and industry, but he really has given back in helping us develop our young professionals and making sure that the next generation is mentored and inspired to be part of this profession and giving back to them through all of his years of experience. But I think what impresses me most is that Jim just got back less than, I think, 24 hours ago from a trip in Ireland and is sleep deprived and still on Irish time. So I'm looking forward to hearing his remarks. And if you see him drinking beer at about 10 a.m. in the morning, just understand the transition for some of us takes a day or two. It is my privilege and honor now to introduce Jim Jones.
Thanks, Elaine, and good morning, everyone. As Elaine said, I am Jim Jones, and I am this year's chair of the Illinois CPA Society. But probably a better way to describe me is through my day job as an industry guy who is trying to manage a family-owned business in a very challenging environment. It's not running the business, it's the hard part. If I could do that, my life would be easy. It's the change factor that complicates everything. We like stability. We're accountants, kind of, after all. But like the video showed, change is all around us, and like the video, it's not very subtle. The change is coming very fast. It's really right in our face and has to be addressed very quickly.